When's the last time you had a punter?
10 years ago, my rookie year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do you get every rep in every
I try to.
preseason games? You
Yep.
do it all?
Yep.
You like that?
Sure.
What do you work on at this point of your career? Master this.
I don't know. I'm just trying to like be the Drew Brees of punters, I guess. You know, just there's always something you can be better at and fine tune. And your body's changing as you get older. Recovery, nutrition, all these different pieces. So, you know, you never arrive. Just constantly adjusting and trying to figure out a better way to do it.
Thomas, we were kind of just talking to Elvin about some of the more non-traditional stuff that he's done training-wise. You do a lot of that stuff too. When did you want to kind of start incorporating that? And do you feel it helps you in your game specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do anything without purpose. So, I mean, I'm always tinkering with things. It's funny you asked that because Alvin's actually given me little step-by-step challenges of how to make certain exercises more difficult or less stable, and so he's been one of my sources for new things to try.
Do you think, like especially with stuff like yoga, things like that, in your time in the league, has there been kind of a greater acceptance of incorporating stuff like that from masculine football players?
Yeah, I think the college game is kind of ahead of the pro game in a lot of like newer things. I think we're a little slower to adjust sometimes, and so I think the change is coming from the college level more than the pro level. And as college players become professionals, some of those things that they were doing at their colleges are now more and more integrated. Whether it be yoga or Pilates or, scheduling when you do certain things. I mean, so much of today's world is data-based and science-based. And so it's just a race to acquire information. But at the end of the day, I think the best players I've been around are, they're always trying to get that new information. But at the end of the day, studies are done on groups of people, and everybody's individually a little different. So I think you still have to have the autonomy as a player to keep trying to see what works best for you. And there's a balance between those two.
And Thomas, when you talk about today's age and punting and how much you've seen it change in your career, where you had the traditional punt and you have the Aussie punt, is it pretty much now high school, college, or pros that punters are able to do both, or and because obviously it's a difference, the angle and all that, or is that a common as
yeah,
seems like a second nature to you, obviously?
Yeah, like when I was a rookie, I had never done an end-over-end punt. Like I had never worked on it, practiced it, and then when I got here, it was something that was, it was kind of foreign to me, and so. But it's like anything, as the game changes and adjusts, like, you can't be stuck in your ways, and you have to continue to adjust yourself. It's obviously you want to be the best version of yourself that you can be, but especially for a punter where everything's quantitative, like you can measure everything. It's not like reaction or, everything's measurable. And like for me, I feel like every year I need to be in the top 3 guys. And that's kind of my goal. And so over time, that group gets better. And so you have to keep figuring out ways to, stay at the top. And so that's kind of the fun, never-ending challenge of doing what I do.
Obviously, you've been at 11 of these now. It's so hard to quantify things like vibe and mood and motivation and stuff. What influence do you think the way last season ended is actually having on this team, positive or negative?
That's a really hard question to answer in 10 seconds. I would say, I've been on this team for a long time now, and expectations are different every year. I've seen us exceed expectations and fall short of expectations. I've seen us go through ups and downs as a team, and you know, when you talk about it in the locker room, like chemistry, whatever that it factor is, I think it's hard to measure what that is, but when you have it, you know that you have it, and when you don't, you know that you don't. And so I think the challenge with this team and every team, especially when there's expectations, is that you don't pick up where you left off last year, and it's just acknowledging that this year will be even harder than last year, especially with the expectations. And I think if everybody can acknowledge that and like just face it and know that it's going to be harder, then we could have a chance, you know. But if you think you're just going to pick up where you left off as a team, that just doesn't happen, right? You have new draft picks, you have players that get traded or released or go other places, retirement, and so it is a new team, and I feel like pretty certain that we have a good core group that's coming back again, but it will be a different team. There will be certain pieces that we don't have and certain pieces that are new that we will have, and so I think you have to like restart every year, and that's hard to do, especially when you're so close. But if you have the right guys that can go through that process, I think that gives you a chance.
Obviously, you hope it doesn't come to this as a punter, but how often do you practice tackling if it comes to that where you have to make a tackle?
I don't practice tackling. You guys probably can tell that from my injury rate. I'm sure it's like the highest in league history. No, I just, you know, I don't ever shy away from making a tackle, but, you know, it's a lot of motivation to really control the game. Before it was about hitting big balls and, you know, flashing why they drafted you. And as I've been in this league long enough, you know, Mickey told me once when I was a young player, he said, man, all I'm really asking you to do is hit a 41-yard punt out of bounds every time. And that kind of mentally just changed my focus of, you know, it's not about flashing. It's almost about having a boring play where nothing exciting happens and just controlling the game. If coach knew that every time I punted, the other team was 40 yards away from where we punted, even if we didn't statistically lead the lead, but we just never gave up anything, I think he'd sign up for that every time, just to control the game. And so there's a balance of kind of knowing when to go for it, when to be more aggressive, and more often than not, I'm not as aggressive. And it's about, if I hit a B-plus ball every time with the guys we have out there, with Taysom, with Hardy, and a bunch of our core guys, you know, nothing exciting should happen. And so I just try to stay in that realm 90% of the time.
Thomas, kind of going off that, Marcus Sherrill's the way that he attacks the football and punt coverage teams. What does he do that's unique that makes it so that kicking it 40 yards downfield and being able to stop him there doesn't happen that often?
Yeah, Marcus is a unique player because, you know, I don't like playing against Marcus when he was on other teams. I could hit a great punt that's shorter, in the corner, great hang time. Like, that should be no return ever. And he'll just say, you can't hit me until I touch the ball. And he'll make a decision, I'm not fair catching. And that drives me crazy as a punter. And so guys that are like that have such confidence. I mean, he may be the best catcher of punts that I've ever seen. Just his ability to secure the ball confidently. And I just feel like he's a great, I guess I'd compare it to like a really good corner that knows when to be aggressive, when to like take the chance or not. Like you can't coach somebody on when to know to like pull the trigger. He just has that great decision making in the moment when this ball is way up in the air to make a decision of when to be aggressive and not to. And I don't know how you coach someone to have that, but he has it. And so I'm glad that I don't have to tackle him anymore. My ribs needed a break after hitting him 2 years ago in the playoffs. So
that takes some stones, if you will, though, to, you know, with those gunners coming at you and you're willing to be able to.
There's a lot of kick returners that'll secretly they'd say, I will never punt return. I've heard of people dropping balls in practice because they don't want to be put out there. They don't want coach to put them out there as a punt returner. So it's a different mentality. Like I said, when you have that sort of confidence and your ability to catch and be in and out of your, you know, out of the catch quickly, he has that. And so Excited he's with us.
Thomas, you said you've been on all kind of different teams, obviously, better teams, worse teams. Do you think as the team gets better, the process of the psychological challenges is bigger than the physical challenges? As far as winning and losing?
I guess I would just say that, I don't know, I feel like as a player or as a team, as a group of people, if you start feeling the sensation that you've got it figured out or you've made it, you're probably wrong. And so I think that's something that Coach Payton does a great job of kind of keeping players and coaches and staff all around the building a little on edge and a little uncomfortable. And so I think it's you just have to guard against that. When it's just human nature. When you think you've got it, like there's no mecca, not in this life anyways, right? You don't like get to somewhere and say, oh, it's good, right? You set goals, but then you just set new goals, right? And it's like telling a young guy, like just because you think you've made it in the league, if you made the team this year, that's not like, that's not the end result. That may have been your dream for your whole life, but like if that's all your dream was, you're gonna be out of this league in a year or two, And so I think it's the same thing. It's just guarding against those human nature things, and that's why it's so important to have the right people and having a good balance of perspective with players that have been through it. Having guys that have been here that kind of we had a lull 14 and 15 and kind of seeing what that's like. Having guys like Craig Robertson who didn't do a lot of winning, that has that and he cherishes this now. He understands how awesome this is, and you have a good collection and a bunch of different perspectives like that of guys that are just grateful and understand how good it is to be a part of this team at this moment, and the opportunity to be a part of this 19 team. Like that's what you're looking for, I think.
How often you reflect on that you were a rookie in 09 and now it's 19? I mean, where you're in your second decade, where do you see yourself in your career though? Punters have a lot of longevity sometimes.
Yeah, I try not to get too far out. Every year I'm just trying to be the best I can be, and I know that's super cliche and kind of lame, but things change so fast. Teams can pivot on a dime and make a decision. Man, we made the wrong. Things just change, and so if you can keep that edge yourself, I think it's an advantage. I have a little bit looked back and reflected this year because we've got the 10-year anniversary coming up, and that is really going to be special. It's going to be kind of sad. There'll be a few guys that aren't here for different reasons, and that'll be hard. But I do think the memories that'll be made this year, I remember right after we won thinking, man, this is going to be the rest of my life. Like, we'll have reunions. We did something together that was just awesome and special, and I just remember feeling like almost undeserving as a rookie just to kind of walk in and be a part of that. And so, there'll be some guys that I haven't seen since 10 years ago. And there'll be some guys that we see every year that come back. And I just know that from the guys I've talked to, everybody is so looking forward to coming back and being recognized together. And, I know it gets overplayed, but Joe Vitt always talked about if we did that, we'd walk together forever. And we're going to get to experience that for the first time when we come back and get honored. And I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully we're like 13-0 going into that game, so that we can